All right, I think we're live. Can somebody verify? And I post a link, Slack. All right, so we're going to talk about React today, introduction. And I want to explain what React is, what it replaces, because we already have that full stack of Node.js, Express, all the front-end technologies.
Oh, me.
Maybe I don't want to see myself.
Now with React, we don't need to use anything else.
Exactly. Basically done. Right, so again, client, the server, and the database would be Node.js and Express. And here we have HTML, right? CSS, JavaScript. And it went so far is that somebody will ask for a web page, let's say index.html, right? And the server responds with index.html. And every time you have to navigate to another page, it will ask for another page. So let's say about. And again, the computer, the client is asking for about HTML, and the server responds with about HTML. It has a disadvantage, namely every time this user client wants something new, has to ask for it again, and the server has to respond, and it causes a delay. Every time you refresh a page, it has the delay. The advantage of React is that it moves the whole rendering part. So what do I mean with the rendering part? We have these handlebars files, right? So in cases, give me the profile page of user. Then say user as the database for user. Then it will grab a template file from handlebars, put in there the user data in there. Now the whole user page is ready, and it's sent to the client. That whole rendering part moves to the client right now. That means that React replaces handlebars and more. Right? So in React, we're not going to use handlebars. It serves similar functions like templates, passing data to pages, and based on that data, you render a page. So you're going to have, for example, a user component in React, just like we have a user template file and handlebars. And we're going to pass data to the user component, and then the user page is rendered. What's going on right now is that if I ask for React, is on the front end. If I, for example, ask for user, the web server doesn't respond with the complete user file. It only responds contains the user data. So when I ask for user, you're going to say, that's, we give you this object. Right? So user is only going to respond with the object. And the whole rendering part, the whole HTML file is assembled on the front end. The result is that this is much quicker. And only if I need new data from the server, I'm going to ask the server something. But if I'm going to navigate to the About page, for example, the About page doesn't change. Right? The header is always the same. So in the first load, the whole About page, the home page, everything is loaded already. And when I click on something, it's there immediately. And it's named React because React's fast. So, right, rendering first was done on the back end and moves to the client side. So, handlebars, no more. We're using React. And the only thing we're asking the server is data. So another way to see that, our server is going to act like an API. It's not sending complete HTML pages anymore, only data. The whole rendering part is done on the front end, and that's why it will respond a lot quicker. So this, it's quicker. Right? It has faster. That's one main advantage of React. Another main advantage is component-based, so you can reuse a lot of code. Those are two big advantages. And right now I'm going to show you how it looks like. Because we are already full stack developers, right? So we're now becoming full stack developers plus, right? All right, so this is not normally how it's done, but to understand what's going on, it really helps. Normally, you don't include React in a web page like this. It's mainly for educational purposes. But as you can see, React is it's the library framework. That's sort of a discussion. It's such a big library that has so much influence and changes the way you design web applications so much that some people call it a framework. But also the border between a library and a framework is pretty vague, right? It's just semantics. Doesn't really matter much. But we include it just like a library, like we're used to with jQuery. So this is React. This is another part of React. And Babel is ES6 Plus. Enables us to use some JavaScript features that the browser doesn't have normally. All right, so we need all of these. Now we're going to say text Babel. And this is a class, right? We have been using those, and then say, we're going to need that. And we're going to start talking about React. So we have app, this is the root component, extends react.component. So this comes from this library. And it's rendering, well, very simple hello world. Right? So this is a React component. And all this React component does is render very basic HTML, namely hello world. Now we're going to insert whatever this component is returning in here. Works a little bit similar as jQuery. jQuery works similar. That's also why you don't use jQuery and React simultaneously. You cannot use React and jQuery simultaneously. Also with jQuery, you were able to insert HTML in your web page, right? Dynamically. React is doing that. Much cleaner way. Right. So right now, we are inserting whatever this app is returning into this HTML element. So app is returning hello world into this div. There's some things that are new, namely, can I write this? Is this a string? It's weird. It's some kind of new syntax, right? It's called JSX, JavaScript Extended. You can do this now. Right? This means an instance of this component, right? And we have to insert it into the page. So what will the result be? Hello world. All right? Pretty, right? So this is new, JavaScript Extended. And what React does, it keeps its own copy of the whole DOM, of the whole document object model, basically HTML. Yeah. All right. So, but this is not how we do it normally. Maybe for educational purposes. You first compile this. It's a word you don't know yet. Let the server compile this. And then you put it in one big JavaScript file. So let's say you have 20 components. Then you say compile those 20 components, put them in one JavaScript file, and that's being included. And that's what we're going to see here now. Let's see. I really like this tutorial. I'm going to select a couple of lessons from our own learning platform, but I find that this tutorial tells the most complete story. Right. I'm going to share it with you in the channel. Right. I also explain what I did just now. All right. We're going to use something, and that's called React, Create React App. Here. Create React App is an npm module that you have to install globally. Create React App. What it does is it sets up a complete React environment. Is it readable? Okay, first, let me clear it. Create React App demo. It's going to set a complete file structure in a similar way Express Generator does that for us. Yeah. npm install create React App -g. This works. Right, first we're going, all right, so set it up. As you can see you have a whole file structure. All right, we have public. Public sounds familiar, I guess. All right, source. All right. They also set up. Let's see if I need to run npm install as well. Oh, it's all right. So now we get a complete setup. We have app.js. Right, app.js is a root file. It's a root component. This is already saw this also in index.html. Right? Normally you don't have to change this. It's just what you get. Huh? Create React app. Yeah, it's an npm package. Right? This is HTML file. So this is being returned here, is inserted into the root right here. All right. Go back to the tutorial. Where is it? Possibly good. All right. So if we're going to start this React app, this needs to be the result. Some of you already know this feature. All right, where is it? If you take a look what's in package.json, there is a script property. And if I say npm start, it runs this script. If I would say npm run build, it will run this script. That's what you see here as well. Okay. npm start. Loading. A nice thing you get with the setup is something called a live server. Every change you make, if you make a change, it's updated directly and the browser is reloaded. So right now, what we see here, then you can do inspect. This HTML is the HTML that comes from here. Huh? There's also an extra feature I would like you to install. That's the React DevTools. Here you can see how it looks in React. So what React does, it transforms React components into HTML. Right? Just like handlebar template files are transformed into HTML. Right? And I'm making it, and I'm going to make a change. It's refreshed automatically. Right. And all these script files, that is what this setup is doing for us. It will put all, so there's no app class here. with the first example. Here, the app class was here, right? Wrote all my React code in here in the file. What the setup does for us, it takes all the React code and puts it in a file. And that file is called bundle.js. Right, so here there's you don't see the React code directly. It's all put in here. And they're putting it all together. It's called bundling or compiling. A little bit like putting things in a zip folder. All right? You have all these files, put it in one zip folder. Okay. This is all that React does. No, it does more. So now it seems like a really complicated way of putting hello world on your screen, right? So React is about components. Yeah, so building a web page out of different components and then reuse those components in a similar way with handlebars with a template file, and we had partials. Right? So for example, if we have a nav bar that's the same everywhere, there's no way in writing that nav bar as many times as we need it. You want to write it one time, and you want to reuse it different places. Right? React works the same. Right. You have this. What we're going to show, what they're showing here, is that we're going to make a table. First, we're going to make the whole part. And then later, we're going to break it down in a header and a body. And then we're going to make the same thing, but then build out of two components. So we're going to split this table up in a header part and a body part. And it's going to demonstrate to you how you can think in components. So I'm going back to my the new component gets a new file. All right? I'm going to call this table. Put all the code in here. There's some new things here. With Node.js, you use require if you want to import some code. Right? But React likes to work with some kind of other package or module manager, and it's called use import for that. So no more require, but import. No more module does export, but export. It does the same thing. You need these guys. All right, so we need React. And this is basically the same as this. This is new notation. You don't know this. This is something called a deconstructor. You don't know import. Import basically does the same as require. It's not really mind-blowing. It's just a different keyword to write down. This is basically the same as doing it's basically the same. This is called the deconstructor. What it does, it grabs the property component. So React, this React library is a big object with all kinds of properties. Right. Yeah, made it myself. Not myself, I copy pasted myself. All right. This guy takes out of the object that, so when I import React, it's one big object with lots of properties, right? So let's say React is equal to component some other object, some other property. Let's say this React library consists out of lots of key-value pairs. When I use this notation, it means component is this component. I'm getting the value out of an object directly. So when I say component, from React, I'm getting this component, and that's equal to getting the whole thing. But this React is the whole thing. It's this whole thing. And now when I say var component is React.component, this is equivalent to just this. But this is a short way of writing. I'm only interested in a component property of React. Get it out and call it component. All right. For now, that's not the main thing I want to demonstrate. Let's call it deconstructor. I'm going to do some exercises with it. But for now, you can remember it as I always need to do this when I use React. All right, so we're defining a class here, table, and it extends component. And by doing that, it gets all kind of React features. And this component, when it's rendered to the DOM, it spits out all this HTML. Right. And I'm exporting this class. Just a similar way you use modulated exports to export a model or a route. Now I can import this table here. Import table from table. Right, you can see I have table.js in here, and I'm importing it. Now it's saying it's defined but never used. That's correct. I'm going to get rid of the default HTML. Say table. Now my root component is running another component. So this is the child component of app.js. Right, this is this table. All right. All right. So this name, job, Charlie, janitor, Mac, bouncer, D is an aspire and actress. Aren't we all? Okay. So we're going to break this component down. Right. So we want to have a separate header and a separate body. I call it header. I just wanted to return the head. All right, so what are we missing? Which component? The body. With a header and a body. And this can all go. That's what we're doing here.
Question, why can't we save this variable or something?
Short answer is because that's how React works. What React does, and we haven't got to there yet, we saw that you don't need to refresh the page for a view to change. And so the question for people who might not hear it, why can we not assign everything to a variable? Why all the hassle, basically, right? Is that React keeps a separate copy of the DOM in memory. And then based on changes the user makes, it decides to insert new HTML parts. So let's say you click on a certain link, and if you click on that link, you want the page to change. And it says, all right, somebody clicked on a link. We need to change the whole page. To basically maintain that whole infrastructure, you have to use these React classes so that React can work with it in the right way. That's basically the answer. You have to use sort of the React API to make use of the React features. Right? And there are probably other ways to make Oh. Now the sound is back, I guess. Yeah. Mute. We're going to continue later.